My name is Jessica Montgomery, and at 29, I never expected to uncover a family conspiracy that would change my life forever. When my in-laws suddenly announced their Hawaiian vacation, leaving me to care for my supposedly mute, bedridden 8-year-old niece Lily, I reluctantly agreed. They described her as special needs since birth, silent, immobile, and requiring constant care. Little did I know that minutes after they left, my world would be turned upside down. Before I continue this unbelievable story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to hear what happened when my in-laws returned. I've always been passionate about education. As an elementary school teacher, I dedicated my life to helping children reach their potential. My classroom was my sanctuary, a place where I felt in control and respected. That feeling vanished whenever I visited my husband's family. Michael and I had been married for 3 years when this incident occurred. He was kind-hearted, smart, and loving. But he had one fatal flaw: conflict avoidance, especially with his family. While I adored my husband, his family was another story entirely. The Montgomerys were old money. Robert Montgomery, my father-in-law, was the epitome of a domineering businessman. He had built his fortune in real estate development and ruled his family with the same iron fist he used in boardrooms. Tall, imposing, and perpetually dressed in tailored suits, he had a way of making you feel small with just a glance. Eleanor Montgomery, my mother-in-law, complemented her husband perfectly. Cold and calculating, she obsessed over appearances and social standing. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair never moved, much like her frozen facial expressions. She had mastered the art of delivering cutting remarks disguised as compliments. "Jessica dear, that outfit is so brave of you. I could never pull off something so casual at a formal dinner." Then there was Amanda, Michael's older sister and Lily's mother. At 35, she had never held a real job, living off her trust fund and family connections. She had Lily in her 20s with a man she barely knew, who conveniently disappeared before the birth. Amanda was beautiful, entitled, and completely irresponsible. She treated her daughter more like an accessory than a child. James, Michael's older brother, was a successful corporate lawyer who followed their father's every command. He rarely spoke to me directly, as if acknowledging my existence might somehow diminish his standing in the family hierarchy. And then there was my husband Michael, the youngest child, who desperately sought approval from his family while trying to maintain peace with me. He was caught in the middle, and more often than not, I felt like I was losing the tug-of-war for his loyalty. From the moment I entered the Montgomery family, I was treated as an outsider. My middle-class background and career in public education were viewed with barely concealed disdain. Nothing I did was ever good enough. My cooking was quaint, my home decorating simple, and my career choice noble but impractical. Every family gathering was an exercise in restraint, as I bit my tongue to keep the peace, for Michael's sake. Then there was Lily, Amanda's daughter. According to the family, Lily had been born with a severe neurological disorder that left her unable to speak or move independently. She required round-the-clock care, which Amanda largely delegated to a rotating staff of nurses and caretakers. I had seen Lily during family gatherings, always in her specialized wheelchair, staring blankly ahead, never responding to anything around her. I had always felt a strange connection to the child. Something about her eyes seemed alert, intelligent even. But I dismissed these thoughts as wishful thinking. After all, I wasn't a medical professional, and the family had consulted the best specialists in the country. According to Eleanor, the whole situation with Lily being left in my care started with a phone call 3 days before their departure. Eleanor called not to ask but to inform me that I would be staying at their mansion to care for Lily while the entire family, Amanda included, enjoyed a 2-week vacation in Hawaii. "Jessica, darling, we need you to watch Lily while we're away," Eleanor announced, her tone making it clear this wasn't a request. "What about her regular nurses?" I asked, already knowing I was being manipulated. "Oh, we had to let them go. Such unreliable people. Besides, family should take care of family." Michael already agreed. Of course he did, without consulting me first. When I confronted Michael, he gave me his best apologetic look. "Babe, they really need our help. It's just for 2 weeks, and we can stay in the guest suite. It's practically like having our own apartment. What about my job? I can't just abandon my students mid-semester. It's spring break next week, and Mom said she'll have Dad call the superintendent for the second week. You know he's a major donor to the school district." And there it was, the Montgomery way. Rules didn't apply to them. Obligations could be rearranged with a phone call and a checkbook. I reluctantly agreed, not because I wanted to, but because refusing would have caused a family rift that Michael wasn't prepared to handle. The day before their departure, we moved into the sprawling Montgomery mansion, and I received a crash course in Lily's care from Amanda. She needs her medication 3 times a day. It's all labeled. "Don't miss a dose or she gets difficult," Amanda explained, barely looking at her daughter as she packed her designer bikinis. "Difficult how?" "Yes. Just trust me. Keep her on schedule." She handed me a thick binder. "Everything's in here. Feeding instructions, medication times, emergency contacts. Not that she'll need a doctor. It's all just for show anyway." That last comment struck me as odd. But before I could question it, Robert interrupted. "Jessica, understand this is a massive responsibility. We're trusting you with our precious granddaughter. Don't disappoint us." The family's departure the next morning was a whirlwind of activity. Luggage was loaded into waiting town cars. Last-minute instructions were barked. And not once did anyone, not even Amanda, stop to say a proper goodbye to Lily, who sat in her wheelchair by the window, supposedly unaware of the chaos around her. As the cars pulled away, Michael hugged me. "I'm sorry, babe. Dad insisted I come along for some business meetings in Honolulu. You'll be okay, right?" I nodded, feeling abandoned and resentful as I watched my husband leave with his family, leaving me alone with a child I barely knew how to care for. Standing in the cavernous foyer of the Montgomery mansion, I looked at Lily's blank expression and sighed. "Well, I guess it's just you and me now." Little did I know how quickly that statement would take on a whole new meaning. After everyone left, I wheeled Lily into the enormous living room and positioned her in front of the television, playing a children's program as the care instructions suggested. I spoke to her gently, explaining what I was doing, though I didn't expect any response. "I'm going to make us some dinner, Lily. I'll be right in the kitchen if you need anything." I felt silly talking to her as if she could understand, but it felt wrong to treat her like a piece of furniture. The detailed care binder indicated it was almost time for her evening medication, so I headed to the kitchen to prepare her prescribed liquid diet and the array of pills she supposedly needed. The Montgomery kitchen was a chef's dream. All stainless steel, marble countertops, and high-end appliances that had probably rarely been used, as they employed a full-time cook who was also conveniently on vacation. I busied myself preparing a simple pasta dish for myself and the special nutritional shake for Lily. As I stirred the pasta sauce, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. A prickling sensation ran up my spine, and I turned around, expecting to see one of the household staff I hadn't been introduced to. What I saw instead nearly made me drop the wooden spoon I was holding. Lily was standing in the doorway, not in her wheelchair, standing on her own 2 feet. Her posture was slightly unsteady, but she was upright, her hand braced against the doorframe. "Lily," I whispered, unable to believe what I was seeing. Then she spoke, her voice soft but clear, with the slight lisp of a normal 8-year-old. "They want my $4 million. Please help me." The room seemed to spin around me. I gripped the counter to steady myself, certain I was hallucinating. The supposedly mute, paralyzed child had just walked into the kitchen and spoken a perfectly coherent sentence. "Lily," I repeated, my voice barely audible. "You can talk and walk." She nodded, her eyes, those intelligent eyes I had noticed before, now filled with fear and hope. "Please don't tell them I talked to you. They'll hurt me again." I abandoned the stove and slowly approached her, kneeling to her level but keeping some distance to avoid frightening her. "Lily, I don't understand. Who will hurt you? What $4 million? her little face contorted with worry. My mom and grandpa and grandma. They pretend I'm sick so they can take my money when I'm 18. In Amanda's bedroom, behind an expensive painting, we discovered a wall safe. Lily didn't know the combination, but I had a hunch. I tried Amanda's birthday. Nothing. Then I tried Lily's birth date, and the safe swung open. Inside were more financial documents, jewelry, and a USB drive. When we plugged the drive into Amanda's computer, we found medical records showing that Lily had been completely healthy at birth. There were also videos of Lily as a toddler, running, laughing, and talking. Concrete evidence that she had developed normally before her grandparents' death. By evening, I had compiled overwhelming evidence of the Montgomery family's elaborate scheme, but I was still missing one crucial piece of information. Why go to such extreme lengths for $4 million? It was certainly a lot of money, but the Montgomerys were already wealthy. There had to be more to the story. The answer came when Lily showed me a hidden compartment in her wheelchair, where she had stashed various papers she'd collected over the years. Among them was a letter from her maternal grandfather to Lily, to be given to her on her 18th birthday. It had been mistakenly included in some papers Amanda had received after their death. The letter revealed that the $4 million was just the beginning. The Blackwells had been successful oil investors who had sold their company for a fortune. The bulk of their estate, nearly $50 million, was held in a separate trust that would transfer to Lily when she turned 25, but only if she was deemed mentally competent and had control of the initial trust. The Montgomerys hadn't just been after $4 million. They were playing a long game for a fortune more than 10 times that amount. As I tucked Lily into bed that night in a guest room far from the surveillance cameras, I felt a fierce determination taking root inside me. This brave little girl had endured years of abuse and isolation, and I was now her only hope for freedom. "We're going to fix this, Lily," I promised, smoothing her hair. "You're not alone anymore." The next morning, Lily and I sat at the kitchen table, away from any potential surveillance cameras, planning our next steps. I needed to understand exactly what she wanted. "If you could have anything, Lily, what would it be?" I asked gently. Her answer was immediate and heartbreaking in its simplicity. "I want to go to real school. I want friends. I want to not be afraid all the time." She paused, her small fingers tracing patterns on the table. "And I want my mom to love me for real, not just pretend in front of people." The sincerity in her voice nearly broke me. Despite everything her family had done to her, she still longed for their genuine affection. It was a painful reminder that she was, after all, just a child, who wanted what every child deserves: love and security. I knew we needed professional help. After ensuring Lily was comfortably settled with a book, she was a voracious reader despite having taught herself, I stepped onto the patio to make a private phone call to my best friend, Lauren Bishop. Lauren was a family lawyer specializing in child advocacy. We had been friends since college, and she was one of the few people I trusted implicitly. I explained the situation as concisely as possible, aware that I was making extraordinary claims. "Jesus, Jess," Lauren breathed after I finished. I don't even have words. If what you're saying is true, this is one of the most horrific cases of child abuse and financial exploitation I've ever heard." "It's true, Lauren. I've seen the evidence. This little girl has been imprisoned in her own body for 5 years, so her family can steal her inheritance." "You need to document everything," Lauren advised. "Photos, copies of documents, recordings if possible. But be careful. If they catch you, they could spin this against you. They have resources and connections." She promised to research the legal implications and prepare for potential emergency proceedings, but warned me against confronting the family directly without proper preparation. "These people sound dangerous, Jess. They've maintained this deception for years. They won't hesitate to destroy you if you threaten their scheme." After my call with Lauren, I returned to find Lily looking anxious. "Are you going to send me back to them?" she asked, her voice small. I knelt beside her chair. "Absolutely not. We're going to make sure you're safe, and that nobody ever hurts you again." Over the next few days, we established a routine. During the day, we gathered and secured evidence. I photographed documents, copied files onto a secure cloud account Lauren had set up, and helped Lily document her experiences in a journal that could potentially be used in court. I discovered a disturbing amount of surveillance throughout the house. Cameras in Lily's room, the hallways, and even some of the common areas. However, they didn't cover everywhere, and we were careful to conduct our most sensitive conversations in camera blind spots Lauren helped me identify. We also researched child abuse laws, inheritance regulations, and trustee responsibilities. What the Montgomerys were doing violated numerous state and federal laws. They weren't just being cruel, they were committing serious crimes. Every evening, the family would call to check in. I maintained the charade, reporting that Lily was following her usual routines and taking her medication. Meanwhile, Lily continued to improve, physically and mentally, without the sedatives. Her movements became more coordinated, and her personality blossomed. She was funny, curious, and remarkably resilient, given her circumstances. The question of whether to tell Michael weighed heavily on me. He was my husband, and I wanted to believe he wasn't part of this conspiracy. But his blind loyalty to his family made me hesitant to trust him fully. 5 days into our time alone, I decided to test the waters. I called Michael while Lily was napping. "Hey, how's Hawaii?" asked, keeping my tone light. "Amazing. Dad's meeting finished early, so we've been hitting the beach. How are things with Lily?" I took a deep breath. "Actually, I've noticed some strange things. Her medical regimen seems extreme, and I found some documents about her trust fund that seem concerning." There was a pause before Michael responded, his voice noticeably cooler. "Jess, you know nothing about Lily's condition. The medication is necessary, and her financial arrangements are none of your business." "But Michael, don't you think? Look, Amanda knows what's best for her daughter. Just follow the instructions and stop snooping through family papers." "That's totally inappropriate." His dismissive response confirmed my worst fears. Whether Michael was actively complicit or willfully ignorant, he couldn't be trusted to help Lily. "You're right," I lied. "I'm sorry. I'm just trying to do my best here." After hanging up, I sat in silence, my resolve hardening. I was on my own in this. Me and an 8-year-old girl against a powerful, wealthy family willing to destroy a child's life for money. During our week together, I also focused on helping Lily experience normal childhood activities that had been denied to her. We baked cookies, played board games, and watched movies appropriate for her age, rather than the baby programs her family forced on her. I taught her simple card games and was amazed at how quickly she learned. "No one's ever played with me before," she admitted during a game of Go Fish. "They just put me in front of the TV." I also worked with Lily on basic self-advocacy skills and prepared her for possible interviews with authorities. We practiced how she might answer questions about her treatment and the deception she had been forced to participate in. "Remember, you've done nothing wrong," I emphasized. "The adults who were supposed to protect you failed. None of this is your fault." Lauren provided guidance on preparing for the family's return. We secured copies of all evidence in multiple locations, including with Lauren herself. We developed a code phrase Lily could use if she felt unsafe. And I programmed emergency numbers into a small phone I purchased and hid in her room. The night before the family was scheduled to return, Lily and I finalized our preparations. The evidence was overwhelming. Medical records showing a healthy child until age 3, falsified subsequent records, financial documents revealing the trust manipulation, emails discussing the deception, and Lily's own testimony. As we sat in the kitchen eating ice cream, another simple pleasure Lily had been denied, she looked up at me with serious eyes. "What if they don't believe us? What if they make me go back to pretending?" I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That's not going to happen. Too many people know the truth now. You're not alone anymore." What I didn't tell her was my fear, that the Montgomerys' wealth and connections might still prevail. That justice wasn't always served, especially when facing opponents with unlimited resources. but I was determined to fight with everything I had. Tomorrow will be hard, I warned gently. But remember how brave you've been all these years. Just a little longer, and then you'll be free. As I tucked her into bed, Lily wrapped her arms around my neck in a tight hug. Thank you for believing me, she whispered. I held her close, my heart breaking for all the years of affection she had been denied. Always, I promised. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow is a big day. Little did I know that tomorrow would arrive much sooner than expected. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I was jolted awake by the sound of the front door opening, and voices in the foyer. The family wasn't supposed to return until the afternoon, but here they were in the middle of the night, catching us completely off guard. I hurried to Lily's room and found her already awake, her eyes wide with fear. They're back early, she whispered, trembling. They sometimes do this to check if I'm being good when no one expects it. I helped her quickly return to her official bedroom with the monitoring equipment. Remember our plan, I whispered. No matter what happens, I won't let them hurt you again. I had barely settled her when Amanda appeared in the doorway, still in travel clothes. What are you doing in here? She demanded. I heard noises and came to check on Lily, I improvised. You're back early. Daddy's business concluded sooner than expected, she replied, her eyes narrowing suspiciously. Has everything been going according to schedule? Of course, I lied smoothly. Exactly as you instructed. Amanda pushed past me to approach Lily's bed. Let me see her. I watched tensely as she examined her daughter, looking for any signs that might betray our deception. Lily played her part perfectly, remaining limp and expressionless as Amanda checked her. Her medication, Amanda asked sharply. All given as prescribed, I assured her. The logs are in the kitchen. Amanda seemed satisfied for the moment and left to join the rest of the family downstairs. I squeezed Lily's hand reassuringly before following. In the living room, the entire Montgomery clan was assembled despite the early hour. Robert and Eleanor sat regally on the sofa while James paced by the fireplace. Michael stood awkwardly near the entrance, avoiding my eyes. Jessica, Robert acknowledged me coldly. I trust everything has been satisfactory in our absence. Yes, I replied simply, deciding to let them reveal their hand first. Eleanor studied me with calculating eyes. Curious, Amanda checked the medication supply before we left. It seems several doses are unaccounted for. My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. I followed the instructions precisely. Perhaps there was a miscount before you left. Perhaps, Eleanor conceded, though her tone suggested she believed nothing of the sort. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room until it was broken by a sound that caused everyone to freeze. Footsteps on the stairs. All heads turned as Lily appeared in the doorway, standing perfectly straight, fully dressed and very much alert. Hello, Mommy, she said clearly. Hello, Grandma and Grandpa. I'm feeling much better now. The room erupted into chaos. Amanda lunged toward Lily with a strangled cry. James cursed loudly, and Eleanor pressed a hand to her chest in theatrical shock. Robert's face turned an alarming shade of red as he rounded on me. What have you done? He thundered. I moved quickly to stand between him and Lily. I've done nothing except stop drugging an innocent child. Amanda grabbed Lily's arm roughly. She needs her medication right now. She's having some kind of episode. No, Lily cried, pulling away with a strength that surprised everyone. I won't take it anymore. I know what you're doing. I know about my money. The room fell silent again, the stunned hush even more profound than the first. Jessica, Amanda said with forced calm, my daughter is severely disabled and delusional. She needs immediate medical attention. She's neither disabled nor delusional, I countered. She's been pretending for years because you threatened and abused her. I know everything, Amanda, about the trust fund, about the medications, about the surveillance, all of it. Robert stepped forward, his imposing frame towering over me. You have no idea what you're talking about. This is a family matter that you have grossly misinterpreted. I've misinterpreted nothing, I replied, standing my ground. I've seen the documents, the emails, the videos of Lily as a healthy toddler before her grandparents died and left her millions. Eleanor attempted a different approach, her voice honeyed. Jessica dear, you've been under tremendous stress caring for a special needs child. It's understandable that you might be confused. Why don't you and Michael go home and rest while we handle Lily's care? Michael finally spoke up, his voice uncertain. Jess, maybe Mom's right. This is a lot. Let's go home and talk. There's nothing to discuss, Michael. Your family has been abusing Lily for years, and I won't walk away and let it continue. Amanda suddenly changed tactics, her face contorting with rage. Ooh. You've been snooping through my private papers. You have no right. She lunged for Lily again, this time with a prescription bottle she'd pulled from her purse. You're taking your medicine right now, young lady. I intercepted her, blocking her path to Lily. Don't touch her. Robert grabbed my arm painfully. This is criminal trespassing and interference with a child's medical care. I'm calling the police. Please do, I replied calmly. I'm sure they'll be very interested in the evidence I've gathered. Evidence? James scoffed. What evidence could you possibly have against our word? We're the Montgomerys. You're nobody. I have copies of all the financial documents showing how you've been manipulating Lily's trust. I have the falsified medical records. I have the emails where you discuss your plans to have her declared incompetent when she turns 18 so you can keep control of her inheritance. With each item I listed, I watched their faces grow paler. Most importantly, I continued, I have Lily herself, a perfectly healthy, intelligent 8-year-old who can testify to years of abuse and medical neglect. Amanda's expression turned vicious. No one will believe her. She's been diagnosed with severe cognitive impairment since she was 3. Diagnosed by doctors your father paid off, I countered. The truth will come out. Robert stepped closer, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I can destroy you, your career, your reputation. One phone call and you'll never teach again. Michael finally seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation. Dad, what are you talking about? What's going on here? Before Robert could respond, Amanda made another grab for Lily, this time succeeding in catching her arm. She tried to force a pill into Lily's mouth. Take it, she hissed. Take it now or you'll regret it. Lily struggled, crying out in pain as Amanda twisted her arm. No. Let me go. Something in me snapped. I shoved Amanda away from Lily with more force than I intended, sending her stumbling back against an antique table. Don't you dare touch her, shouted. Robert moved toward me with undisguised menace. That's assault. James, call the police. We'll have her arrested. I wouldn't do that if I were you, I said, pulling out my phone, because the police and Child Protective Services have already been contacted. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Robert froze mid-step, his face a mask of calculation. You're bluffing, he said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. Am I? I held up my phone, showing them the call history. My friend Lauren Bishop. Perhaps you've heard of her? She's one of the top family lawyers in the state. She's been documenting everything we've discovered. Eleanor's perfectly maintained composure began to crack. Robert, perhaps we should discuss this privately. Before he could respond, the doorbell rang, its chime echoing through the tense silence of the room. James moved to the window and cursed. There's a police car in the driveway. The color drained from Robert's face. Nobody say a word. I'll handle this. But when he opened the door, it wasn't just the police. Lauren stood there with 2 officers and a woman I recognized as a CPS caseworker. Lauren had delivered exactly as promised. Mr. Montgomery. Lauren greeted him professionally. I'm Lauren Bishop, attorney at law. I believe you've been expecting us. Robert attempted to regain control of the situation. There's been a misunderstanding. My daughter-in-law has been interfering with my granddaughter's medical care. The child is severely disabled and needs immediate attention. Lauren remained unfazed. That's not what the evidence suggests, Mr. Montgomery. We have reason to believe Lily Montgomery has been subjected to long-term medical abuse and financial exploitation. The officers requested to speak with Lily, and despite Robert's objections, they insisted. As the situation unfolded, I watched Michael closely. His face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and then dawning horror as he began to piece together the truth. Our eyes met across the room, and I silently pleaded with him to choose the right side, to choose Lily. The critical moment came when Amanda, seeing her scheme unraveling, made one last desperate attempt. Lily has severe developmental issues, she insisted to the CPS worker. She hallucinates and makes up stories. She needs her medication immediately. The caseworker asked to see the medication, and Amanda handed over the bottle. The worker read the label carefully. This is a powerful sedative, Ms. Montgomery. Not typically prescribed for children except in extreme cases. She is an extreme case, Amanda snapped. Then you won't mind if we have her evaluated by an independent physician, the caseworker replied calmly. Amanda's composure cracked. You can't take her. She's my daughter. A daughter you've been drugging and abusing for 5 years, I interjected. You shut up, Amanda screamed, lunging at me. One of the officers stepped between us, restraining her. In that moment of chaos, Michael moved to my side, finally breaking his paralysis. He looked at Lily, who was trembling but standing tall. Lily, he said gently, kneeling to her level, can you tell me the truth? Has my family been hurting you? Lily looked at him with weary eyes, then at me. I nodded encouragingly. They make me take medicine that makes me sick, she said clearly. They tell me if I talk or move when people are around, they'll send me away forever. They want my money from my other grandparents. Michael's face crumpled. He turned to his family, who were all watching him with a mixture of rage and calculation. Is this true? He demanded. Have you been abusing this child for money? Robert attempted damage control. Son, you're being manipulated. Your wife has filled your head with lies. No more lies, Michael replied firmly. I want the truth. Eleanor tried next. Michael, darling, you know Lily's condition. We've all sacrificed so much to care for her. Then you won't mind proving her condition with independent doctors, Michael countered. The standoff might have continued, but Lauren stepped forward with a folder. I have copies of all the evidence Jessica has gathered. Financial records, emails, medical documentation. Enough to launch a criminal investigation. She turned to Amanda. Including your emails discussing how to have Lily declared incompetent when she turns 18 to maintain control of her trust. Amanda's face drained of color. Those were private. They're evidence of conspiracy and child abuse, Lauren corrected. Robert, ever the businessman, quickly assessed the situation and changed tactics. He lowered his voice and addressed the officers. Perhaps we can discuss this matter privately. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that benefits everyone. The implication was clear. He was offering a bribe. The lead officer's expression hardened. Mr. Montgomery, are you attempting to interfere with a police investigation? Robert backpedaled immediately. Of course not. I'm simply suggesting that this family matter could be resolved without unnecessary publicity. Child abuse is not a family matter, the officer replied coldly. It's a criminal offense. What happened next shocked everyone. Amanda, seeing no way out, broke down completely. It was Daddy's idea, she cried, pointing at Robert. He said Lily's inheritance could solve all our problems. The company was failing. We needed the capital. He said no one would question it if Lily had special needs. Amanda, shut up, Robert bellowed. But it was too late. He arranged everything, the doctors, the medications. I just did what he told me, she continued, tears streaming down her face. He said it was only temporary, just until we stabilized the business. But then it went on, and I didn't know how to stop it. The officers exchanged glances. Amanda had just confessed to child abuse and fraud in front of multiple witnesses. Eleanor, ever conscious of appearances, attempted damage control. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. We only wanted what was best for Lily. By drugging her into submission and stealing her inheritance. I couldn't help interjecting. The next few hours passed in a blur. Lily was taken to the hospital for evaluation, accompanied by the CPS worker and, at my insistence, myself. Michael came with us, shell-shocked but determined to make things right. Robert and Amanda were taken to the police station for questioning, while Eleanor and James were instructed not to leave town as the investigation proceeded. The family's carefully constructed facade had crumbled in a single night. At the hospital, doctors confirmed what we already knew. Lily was physically and neurologically normal for her age, though some areas were delayed due to isolation and medication. There were no signs of any congenital disorder or disability. As Lily underwent various tests, Michael and I sat in the waiting room, the weight of the night's revelations hanging between us. "I had no idea," he said finally, his voice hollow. "I swear, Jess, I didn't know what they were doing." "You didn't want to know," I corrected gently. "There were signs, Michael. You chose not to see them." He nodded, accepting the truth of my words. "What happens now?" "Now we make sure Lily is safe and gets justice. Everything else is secondary." Michael reached for my hand, and after a moment's hesitation, I let him take it. We had a long road ahead of us, but at least we were finally on the same side. Later that night, as Lily slept in her hospital bed monitored by nurses who knew the truth, Lauren updated us on the legal situation. Amanda's confession complicates things for Robert. He's already trying to claim she acted alone, but the evidence suggests otherwise. They're both facing serious charges: child abuse, fraud, financial exploitation of a minor. Eleanor and James might be implicated as well, depending on how much they knew. "And Lily?" I asked the only question that really mattered. "The court will appoint a guardian ad litem to represent her interests. Given the circumstances, they'll want to place her with family, but obviously not with Amanda or the elder Montgomerys." Michael and I exchanged glances. "We could take her," he said quietly, "if she wants that." It wasn't a simple solution. Michael was still processing his family's betrayal, and our marriage had been dealt a serious blow by his initial reaction. But it was a start, a commitment to putting Lily's needs first. "One step at a time," Lauren advised. "The important thing is that she's safe now. You did that, Jessica. You saved her." As I looked through the doorway at the sleeping child who had shown such incredible courage, I felt a mixture of relief and resolve. The confrontation had been won. But the battle for Lily's future was just beginning. 3 months after that fateful night, I sat in a sunlit courtroom, watching as the judge finalized our temporary guardianship of Lily. The last quarter year had been a whirlwind of legal proceedings, therapy appointments, and adjustments to our new family structure. The Montgomery family had imploded spectacularly. Robert and Amanda had both been charged with multiple felonies, including child abuse, fraud, and financial exploitation. Robert's attempt to buy his way out of trouble had backfired when he tried to bribe a detective, adding witness tampering to his growing list of charges. Amanda, continuing her strategy of self-preservation, had agreed to testify against her father in exchange for a plea deal. She still faced significant jail time, but less than she might have otherwise. In her more lucid moments, she expressed remorse for her treatment of Lily, though it was difficult to determine whether her regret was genuine or calculated. Eleanor had avoided criminal charges due to insufficient evidence of direct involvement, but she had been named in civil suits regarding the mismanagement of Lily's trust. Her reputation in high society, the thing she valued above all else, was in tatters. The charitable organizations she had once chaired quietly asked her to resign. James had managed to distance himself legally from the worst of the scandal, claiming ignorance of the full extent of the scheme, But his career had suffered nonetheless, with his law firm placing him on indefinite leave pending the outcome of Bar Association inquiries. As for Michael and me, we had embarked on intensive marriage counseling. His failure to believe me initially had created a rift that wouldn't heal overnight. But his unwavering support of Lily since the truth emerged had given us a foundation to rebuild upon. He had cut financial ties with his family and was starting his own consulting business, determined to make his own way without the Montgomery fortune or connections. The most remarkable transformation, however, had been Lily's. Free from medication and fear, she had blossomed like a flower finally given sunlight and water. Her physical strength had returned quickly, and though she had educational gaps to fill, her intelligence and curiosity made her a quick study. The court had appointed a respected financial manager as the new trustee for Lily's inheritance, with strict oversight provisions. The trust would provide for her education and care while protecting the principal until she came of age. The existence of the larger inheritance waiting at 25 had been confirmed, securing her long-term future. Therapy was helping Lily process her years of trauma. Though the road to full emotional recovery would be long, some nights she still woke with nightmares, calling out in fear that her mother or grandfather was coming to punish her for speaking. On those nights I would sit with her, reassuring her that she was safe, that no one would hurt her again. We had enrolled her in school, a small private academy with experience handling children with unusual backgrounds. After initial adjustment difficulties, she had begun to make friends and participate in normal childhood activities. Her first sleepover had been a milestone, celebrated with ice cream and a movie marathon. As the judge signed the final guardianship papers, Lily squeezed my hand, her face shining with hope. "It's official now." "It's official," I confirmed. "You're staying with us." Outside the courtroom, Lauren met us with a smile. "Congratulations. The hard part is over." "Is it ever really over?" I asked quietly, thinking of the years of healing still ahead. "The worst is," she assured me. "You gave her a future, Jess. Not many people would have had the courage to do what you did." Inspired by our experience, Lauren and I had established a foundation to help identify and support other children in similar situations, victims of medical child abuse and financial exploitation. It was in its infancy, but we had already connected with families across the country whose stories echoed Lily's in disturbing ways. That evening, we celebrated with a small party at our new home, a modest house we had purchased in a family-friendly neighborhood far from the Montgomery mansion with its painful memories. Michael grilled burgers while Lily played in the backyard with two friends from school, their laughter a healing balm after so much silence and pain. As I watched her run and jump, her face alight with joy, I thought about how close she had come to losing her childhood entirely. How easily her story could have had a different ending if she hadn't found the courage to trust me that night in the kitchen. The next morning was another milestone, Lily's first day at my school. I had returned to teaching, and though we had initially considered different schools to give her independence, Lily had insisted she wanted to be where I was. "Ready for your first day?" I asked as I helped her adjust her backpack. She nodded, nervous but excited. "Do you think the other kids will like me?" "They'll love you," I assured her. "Just be yourself." As we walked through the school doors together, Lily's hand in mine, I reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought us here. From reluctant caregiver to fierce advocate, from isolated victim to thriving child, we had both been transformed by the truth and the courage to stand by it. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, exhausted but happy after her successful first day, Michael and I sat on the porch swing, talking quietly about the future. "She asked me today if she could call us Mom and Dad," Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. "What did you tell her?" "That she could call us whatever makes her comfortable. That family isn't always about blood." I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling a sense of peace that had been absent for months. "We're going to be okay, aren't we? All of us?" "Better than okay," he promised. "We're going to be the family she deserves." The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more court dates, therapy sessions, and inevitable challenges as Lily continued to process her trauma. But watching her grow stronger each day, Witnessing her reclaim the childhood that had been stolen from her made every difficulty worthwhile. The most profound lesson I had learned through all of this was about the courage it takes to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Sometimes standing up for what's right means standing alone against powerful forces. Sometimes it means risking everything you have for someone who has nothing. But in that risk comes the greatest reward: the knowledge that you've changed a life forever. That you've helped rewrite a story that was heading toward tragedy into one of triumph and hope. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have had the courage to stand up against a powerful family to protect a child you barely knew? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if Lily's story touched your heart. Your support helps us reach others who might be facing similar struggles. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most important voice is the quietest one in the room.